Hello, welcome to Living Arts. I'm your host, Jackie Suarez. Thank you for tuning in. Tonight, as usual, we have a terrific guest. It's a gentleman I've been in hot pursuit of for quite some time. His name is Kevin Winterfield. He's a wonderful actor, musician, and now photographer.
That's right. Hi. How's it going?
I'm doing great. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's good to be here. I'm glad you kept pursuing, because I've been watching you. I've been wanting to get on here for a while. So
I think what I did was our director, Jim Brooks, recommended that I get in touch with you, and I just started looking up some stuff. And this was a while ago, and I think I'd called a 478 number. And I wasn't sure how that all played out. But you are here now, so that's terrific. Right. And I forgot to mention that I guess you are the... well, it's not band leader, because Merwin is just yourself.
Just me and a computer.
But you have a smoking hot band called Merwin.
That's right.
So why don't you tell our audience about that?
Well, 4 years ago, I came from California. The reason you probably saw 408 area code when you called me was because that's the California area code. And I came from California about 8 years ago, and the first thing I noticed were the winters. They were really rough.
Were long and brutal.
Yeah, on this Californian. So I had to figure out something to do during those rough winters, and I decided... 4 years in, after enough winters of trying to figure out how to cross-country ski and stuff, I said, I'm going to start doing music again. When I was in college, I did music. When I was in high school, I did music. But then I went into the corporate world, and I kind of lost it. But coming back here and having those rough winters got me back into a studio. I created my own studio in my own place. We can talk about that if you want.
Absolutely.
And put out just what's called an EP, extended play album, that had like 5 songs on it, and it did pretty good. It got to #1 on a couple of charts in terms of the indie charts, and I said, this is neat, and I just started doing this, year after year after year during the winters, and I've got 4 albums out now.
So when you say the winters, is that primarily your creative time, or when you do the most work?
Yeah, it is. It really is. I think it's the stress of the winter that just brings up all the ideas. I'll get like inspirations during the other times of the year, but I'll just write them down and jot them down and then work them up during the winter time.
So what is your studio looking like, or how did you develop that?
Well, I work for IBM. We talked about that before, so I have a real knowledge of computers and software and all that kind of stuff. And in my past, I actually also worked with a filmmaker named Rob Nielsen in San Francisco, and I helped him learn how to do things digitally. Instead of using film, we did digital stuff. Well, all that kind of experience, making digital films and stuff, helped me understand how to create a digital home studio.
Oh, okay.
So I could take the cost of, in the old days, you'd have to have this full-blown studio to do the recording. Now you can take it down to a Mac and some really cool peripherals, the instruments themselves, and you can use this cool kind of software. I use Reason, that's the name of the software, to record all the different parts and pieces. So I play, when you listen to the albums, I play all the instruments in there. And I can record one after the other after the other. And when I perform, I have the computer I've named Steve. Steve and I go back and forth playing things. In fact, Steve can also be manipulated to have different sounds come out. So it's kind of fun to have to play that. So that's what I do. The studio can be almost set up anywhere. I have it now in kind of a spare bedroom.
Okay.
Out there.
So you're basically, let's say, the guitar piece of it. You go ahead and record that, and when you're doing something live, you'll have it play at whenever it's supposed to play in the course of the song.
That's right.
Is that kind of how it works?
Or I'll choose which instrument during the concert I'm going to want to play. So I have like a keyboard set up, I have a guitar set up, and then I can jump from one to the other, and then as I play the keyboards, the computer plays the guitar. Then I jump to the guitar, and the computer plays the keyboards. In fact, you can see I'm playing I'm all around these days, luckily, and which was an added bonus. One of my goal really was just to make these albums, but then I said, okay, now I'm making these albums. Can I play out? Can I do this out? And I got my real break at the Peekskill Coffee House, where they gave me a chance to play, and I totally flubbed up. The computer crashed a whole bunch of times. And I was sweating like a dog, and it was like 91 degrees out,
Yeah.
But I got through it, and I started, through every failure you get to another step. And I understood better how to perform. But one thing I wanted to get to with that whole thing is that one of the whole muses around my writing and stuff has been Peekskill. I used to live in Mohegan Lake. I'm now in Ossining, but I would come every day to the coffee house, and I would drink and eat their food and talk to the folks there and talk to Randy and Sonny and all the gang, and they would just inspire me with their thoughts and their stuff. And in fact, the album Discontent Snowman, which was the first full album, features a latte that was made by one of the baristas as the cover. And the whole story is about the discontent snowman and as he makes it through the winters and all that stuff. So
it's kind of like a breeding ground for artists in a lot of ways because, you know, it's Peekskill's really big into the visual arts. There's a wonderful museum here.
Yeah, no, I love Peekskill. I think it's one of the coolest places I've ever been to. And I've been all around the United States and all around the world. And I really think this place and the whole Hudson Valley I've just fallen in love with. There's so many talented people that I'm just honored to be a part of it, and immense gratitude to have found these folks.
Well, and you know, you're just one of the shining stars here in town because everyone, I think, has come here just at this right time where there's just everything bubbling over into just a lot of visual artists, performing artists, writers.
Yeah, yep.
So it seems like it's just this little enclave of great artists.
Yeah, it's fantastic, and I love it.
So how long has Merwin been around?
4 years.
Okay.
I've been around, and I just started playing out last year, and you know, as I said, I was setting different goals. I just want to play in a coffee house, all right. Then I want to play at once I've got 2 coffee houses, 3 coffee houses,
simultaneously.
Right? No, yeah, simultaneously. Let's work on that. I'm going to work on that. But then I said, okay, let's see if we can break into New York City. And then I was able to, with the help of some folks and a network of people I was meeting, I was able to play in New York City. And then I was on Long Island, not Long Island, but Long Island City. And I said, let's try to get to Manhattan. And just 2 weeks ago, I played at the Bowery Electric in Manhattan for the first time. And these are just like little goals I set for myself, and it's really been fun. It was a great show. And again, it's kind of about getting over your fear, because I was like, do I dare dream to try to do this? You know, I'm afraid that I might fail. But I failed at the coffee house, and I haven't failed since in anything I've gone after. So it's been very confidence building. And I've met so many people along the way. Now my next goal is to play outside New York, right? And I just got a gig in Tennessee. So,
oh, look at that.
Yeah, I know.
So things are, is anybody,
just now came
do you have any management or someone making these bookings for you?
No, just me and some friends. So on Facebook, if you go to Merwin on Facebook, I've got about 5,100 fans. Over the last 4 years, I built these fans up.
Awesome.
They love my stuff, and I'm honored to have them there. But some of them will say, hey, I'd like you to come to my area. So I say, what are some places that we could book some gigs at? And it's so much nicer to be able to go to a booking agent and say, hey, I have some fans in your area that would like me to come.
Precisely about 1,000.
Well,
right?
Yes.
Facebook will break it down for you like that.
Yeah, and I actually did draw a heat map of where all my fans are around the United States. So I could create, now does this sound nerdy? Yeah. But,
just a little.
Yeah, but I can see where the hot spots are, and I can make a little tour, so kind of summer tour out of it.
Well, actually, you know, you're doing everybody a great service by doing that, because let's say you have you obviously have some fans in Tennessee, right?
Yeah.
So now they get to see you perform, and that's really bright, actually.
Yeah.
It must be really cool too, because they must be excited to to have you there in town.
It is. It's really funny. It's really fun and funny, and like I said, humbling and cool at the same time. Making
the jump, or let's just say like you were doing music prior to doing the career that you have now. What has been the biggest change in music in your mind?
The biggest, since I started playing music a long time ago to now, the ability to
just the technology.
Super small scale, and what they call a democratization. That you and I could sit down and put together a song very quickly at very low cost and get it distributed pretty widely for a very low cost.
Right.
In the old days, if I had started this when I was younger, you had to get a vinyl record, and those things cost a mint, and the distribution was owned by the labels, so it was really hard for a band to break free, break out and get noticed. So I'd say the whole internet, the social media, sites like CD Baby, iTunes, and now Beats, and things like that, Google Play, and Facebook has been big for me. That's the big change. The whole movement from a CD or an album to a digital distribution capability. Then there's good and bad with that. It's good for me as a new artist, I can get out there. But for established artists who maybe they haven't made it, but they used to make money off of doing stuff, it's much harder for them to make money. And I think there's going to be a change in that down the road too, because it's just the way the money is distributed isn't fair right now, and that needs to change.
How so?
I just think the amount of airplay artists get now versus the amount of money they get for that airplay isn't balanced. And
when you say airplay, is this like something that they're downloading it off of iTunes, or someone playing it on the radio?
Yeah, so it could be off of iTunes, Spotify, Pandora. Hearing it on the radio. Every time somebody hears something on Spotify of mine, I get paid for it, but I get such a small amount that in order for me to recoup or make a living, I'd have to have like 1 million, listens. So it's very difficult now, and I think that's going to change. But I think if you talk to some of the artists who have been doing this longer, some of my friends like Fred Gillen and the gang, talk to them about the change they've seen because they've kind of come up through the whole thing. I kind of went into corporate world and came out, but that's something we need to work on. I think to pay artists more and more fairly for the work that they're doing.
Oh, absolutely.
But I didn't mean to get into all that.
No, it's okay. It's okay because there's so many artists that I do know that they've put their own album together or they distributed it, and how who's listening to it and how they're going to be compensated is all really gray.
Yeah, right. Right.
It's a big gray area because everyone loves to get a hold of some music or a movie or something, and it's just the whole, let's not get into committing any crimes.
Yeah, I've seen some very creative ideas, though. Some creative ideas like, how you have a tip when you go to a bar and they have music playing there, and you get your check and it has a tip. Actually have band tip, so that you could, somebody just give 5% or 10% of the check, the bill, to the band. So it's a way to pay the band through the restaurant. So they're trying some new creative ways to get artists more money.
I haven't seen that, but it sounds like a good idea.
That's one thing I saw.
So how does your photography, or when did that start happening?
Oh yeah, that was like, believe it or not, about a year and a half ago. I was going around with my cell phone just taking pictures of things, and people were noticing them. Again, Facebook, they were noticing these photos and saying, wow, they're really cool. I was taking pictures of landscapes, and then I would do some people, but they really liked it. And I said, man, if my little cell phone is doing this, what happens if I start taking a bigger camera? So I went and I tried a bunch of different cameras. I rented them. I rented different bodies and different lenses so I could become an expert very quickly. And I took pictures of my favorite thing, artists, local artists that. Okay.
So who do we have here in this picture?
That is a band out of Beacon. Actually, there's 3 members of a band out of, not necessarily Beacon, out of all over the Hudson Valley. Cold Spring, Ossining, Montrose. It's called Higher Animals. And actually, I have an album of theirs that I think they're going to show in a bit. But I love this band. That's Mimi. These 2 right here are brother and sister. Mimi's son and Orion Joseph, and this is Alejandro, the drummer. And sadly, there's a 4th member who didn't make the cut. And this shot was actually taken. One thing people always they like the shot, but it was taken in the pitch dark in a concert they had just finished up at the Peekskill Coffee House. Okay. And I said to them, hey, can I get a shot of you guys? This is the first time I saw them. And they all grouped together and I shot it. And I really like it. So, and they're a great band. My goal with one of my ulterior motives is that, what if one day, and I think they will, become as big as the Rolling Stones or whatever. And I've got this early shot of them, right
You'll
here.
be sitting on 60 Minutes talking about your photography.
Well, yeah, I'll probably have passed away and they'll find them in some
Your
file
significant
online.
other will be having them on eBay.
Yeah, that's right. We'll be hawking them out there.
This is an original.
That's an original
Kevin Winterfield.
Mimi.
Yeah.
That's right, yeah.
Exactly. It'll become, it's a shame. But there was a photographer on 60 Minutes that was talking about the Beatles. I guess he had a lot of access to them early on.
Right.
So it's something that you can always hold on to.
Yeah.
So you are showing, and you've had a couple of exhibits, so why don't you tell our audience about that?
Yeah, well, let me not go on without saying that Ginny Credito and Rich Credito of 12 Grapes, the owners of 12 Grapes, were instrumental in helping me figure out that I was good at photography. She called me up one day and said, your photos are awesome. Would you like to show them at Open Studios last year? And I said, okay, if you're sure of that. And I showed a bunch of different photos, and it went over really well. And then I just did it just 2 weeks ago at the second Open Studios.
Shots in the Dark, right?
It was called Shots in the Dark. That's right. You like that name?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, that's a cool name.
It reminds me of like a crime novel or something.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was featured with 2 other really great local photographers, Margaret Stahl and Amy Kerwin. You should check their stuff out. Maybe get them on here as well. They're really good. and it was just a really fun time. I featured some photos I'd taken of, everybody knows Daisy Joplin, right?
Yes.
Local violinist, rockin'.
She gets
classical.
around.
Yeah. Got some great shots of her when she was at the Paramount. Remember the return of the Paramount and that big show. And then I've gotten some great shots of Brian Taylor, the flute player, and also electronic musician. And Joe DeRays, a local guitarist who now has a full band, has a very similar story to me. Kind of started when he was young, had to stop, family and other obligations, and now is coming back really strong. Everybody should check out his band. And then people like Kid Audra. You know, we were talking about electronic music and electronica. Kid Audra is peekskillian. She's a peekskill.
That's becoming the new word, everybody.
All right.
Who knew that would be so cool, like to be a peekskillian?
Yeah. So she is an amazing electronic artist, and we're working on. Should I mention the festival that we're getting ready to do?
Please do. I was gonna, nice segue in there.
Yeah. October 18th, mark your calendars. We're going to have an Electronica 1.0 festival at Embark.
Okay.
And
Embark at EMC.
That's right. And we are going to be featuring 5 to 7 bands in the electronic space that are just mind-blowing. And a bunch of them will be from Peekskill. Because as I was playing around Peekskill, I met these bands and made friends with them. And we're going to have folks like Kid Audra, who I mentioned, a great talent. Selinsky, who is a duo, a male-female duo. Very excited to have them. And Brian Taylor will also come back and play for us. He does electronic and his flute and mixes it so well. And a couple other surprises that we'll have there as well. But I really feel like the electronic music scene is big, like grunge in Seattle, like grunge defines Seattle. I think some of the electronic work that's being done here could help define Peekskill as, and this Hudson Valley as the epicenter for this movement. And so I'm very excited to be able to be helping put that on.
So what will be, I guess, will the bands be kind of competing against one another? Is there any type of prize that's associated with it, or is it just really a music festival, an electronic music festival?
It's a festival, and they're not going to compete. They're going to be one after the other. And I think of it maybe as a festival and a showcase, to showcase to folks what amazing things are happening in the electronic space. There's a lot of young folks who get it, but I think, you know, Brian is, I wouldn't say he's young folk, he's like my age and stuff, and he gets it, and there's this wide spectrum, and I'm going to show with the bill that we've got put together, the spectrum from some stuff that's really everybody can get to kind of the cooler new stuff and everything in between. It's really going to be amazing. I was at a place just over the weekend, not necessarily auditioning, but watching a bunch of these bands, and it's going to be very cool, very cool.
So I mean, I've always known that it's electronic music, and coming from, I guess, maybe, you know, in a club scene, that type of music. But this is just a little bit different, whereas, you know, it's kind of more rock and roll based.
Yeah, and so that's a great point. The sounds of electronic music go everywhere from, like you said, club, EDM, electronic dance music, to something called noise electronica, which is
trance,
trance, ambient, techno. There's a type called shoegaze, which we're going to feature. It's a really kind of, there's all these great genres out there.
Shoegaze? Well, what is that exactly? What does that sound like?
Well, it comes from the fact that the musicians are down looking at, they have all these controls and pedals down below, and so they're looking at their pedals all the time. And some of the folks that watched it said, hey, why are they gazing at their shoes? So it's a shoegaze, but it's it can be rhythmic, it can be ambient, but it usually involves guitarists and their use of effects and different types of effects. So you think that's you don't know what instrument is making that sound because of all the effects that they've put on it. It's really creative. Talk about creative and abstractions of sound. There'll be stuff that people can get into, and there'll be stuff that people I think will open their eyes to a new sound that's coming. And you'll see, I was just at one band I didn't mention I took photos of was Fantagram. Fantagram just became big. I got a picture of them when they were kind of medium. That's the one I think is going to go big. But
so do you think, I guess moving forward, are all of the photos that you're doing now just basically kind of musicians?
Yeah, I mean, I take pictures of lots of different things, but I really...
But that's your passion right now.
Totally. I think I love music, and I love musicians, and I love the way they look, the way they act, the way they interact. their own special signature. So yeah, I love taking photos of those guys and gals.
Do you think that this whole electronic, I guess the people that are doing it, if someone were to grade their musicianship, let's say,
Yeah.
where would you stand with that, or how do you feel about that?
I think there are some that will. I mean, if you were to grade it on a strict scale of, going to Juilliard or not, the standard traditional thing, there's some that will grade an A, and some that will not even will be like the grunge of rock or the grunge of music, and they'll kick it down to say that we're not even going to go there. But it's all accepted. It's at like the time when there was, what is it? In painting, when you were very realism versus surrealism versus abstractionism. Some people might say abstract art isn't real art because it doesn't look like what it's supposed to be.
Right.
And that's what you're going to get. That's the experience you will have here. I remember when I was a kid, I loved Pink Floyd, and I would just put Pink Floyd on, lie on the ground, close my eyes, and go to another place with them. That's what happens with this electronic stuff, and it just takes you away to a different place. What else could I say about that? I think it's from. So yeah, I think there's a whole show on WNYC called New Sounds by John Schaefer, and he features this type of stuff, this type of music, and it's just wonderful. So it's coming. It's coming into the mainstream.
It's the future. Where let's say somebody maybe wasn't the best guitar player or the best drummer. Now, I guess technology will allow that person to simulate these sounds.
Well, and also
and put it together in a way that is maybe even kind of flawless.
That's one thing, but also what is considered best? Because if you can create a sound that's no one else has ever made, then that could be the best of it. So it's some of these folks aren't concerned, and it'll be fun. I'm hoping that during this fest I can interview some of these folks. Maybe you'd want to interview some of these folks.
Maybe we can do it together.
Yeah, we can do it as a tag team, and I'll introduce you to them and just talk about their how they learned and why they go different ways.
And what their technique is.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's going to be October 18th.
October 18th, yep.
And that's at Embark Peekskill at EMC.
That's right.
Great.
Right.
So it's going to be like several nights, or it's just one day?
It's just one. It's going to be one day. We're working out all the details right now. We're hoping to have workshops in the daytime, so people who want to learn about how they do it. Some of the artists are probably going to agree to show what they do. Show kind of. You talked about like the art and the stuff that they do. They're going to show it off to each other and teach each other.
Is it possible to teach someone what you do exactly? Like have them be in your space and say, this is how I put this all together?
Yep. Yeah, it is. It is it is possible to teach, and then they take it to their voice.
So you have performances that you have coming up. I mean, besides going to Tennessee and kind of doing what was it? How did you describe it? The heat map.
The heat map
your
tour.
Fan base across the country.
Yeah.
What are some of the things you have going on locally?
Well, in a couple days I'll be playing. Oh well, tomorrow actually. I'll be playing at local NYC in Long Island City. Second time I was invited to play there again, which is great. And then this weekend we have the Block Party. I'll be playing at the Block Party.
And everybody should know about this.
Yeah.
Division Street Grill in Peekskill, or the whole Division Street is going to be closed down, and it's going to have like this big cafe, music-y feeling, like a big square, let's say. So that's going to be a lot of fun, and that's throughout the whole summer, right? That's
right. I think I'm parachuting in. I think that's I'm not supposed to say that. But
no, like
my guitar.
That one that just opens up. It's not a parachute. I don't think you have to be really high up. It's like this thing that just opens up. It's like a little square. It's like a bodysuit that you just jump off.
Exactly. One of those bat suits.
One of those off of, the tallest building in Peekskill.
Yeah. No, I'm going to be coming, exactly.
Yeah. I don't think we're covered for that, or they're covered for that. There's some insurance issues, but So you also are going to be exhibiting, so let people know about that as well. Like you have a couple of exhibits lined up, or if they want to get in touch with you.
Yeah, just get in touch with me on my website. I take photos of regular folk and people and musicians. I just took a bunch of shots of Jesse Mason, an up-and-coming guitarist, at 12 Grapes, and they loved them, and they turned out really well. It helps her career. So if anybody's interested, they want some shots of their aspiring musician or on the way musician, I'd be happy to take those shots.
How would they reach you?
Just go to SmugMug, so kwinterfield@smugmug.com, and you'll find my website. You can also send an email to kmwinterfield@gmail.com, and I'll respond right away.
And we'll need your home address. No.
Yeah.
For the, everybody. So that's terrific. So you've got a lot of fun stuff coming up. I'm really looking forward to the Electronic Music Festival.
Yeah.
So who do you have your eye on musically in town that people should be taking notice of, besides yourself?
Oh, no. Well, I like Higher Animals, so if you ever see them pop up, go see them. They're going to be doing a bunch of different shows. They always come through here. Make sure you see it. Joe DeRay's, as I mentioned before. These are some of my favorites. Daisy, obviously. And then, just go. You can name all the venues around here, right? Bean Runner, TPCH, 12 Grapes, down at the brewery. There's always music going on. There's great jazz. You have really fantastic jazz here. Young folks doing it. Old folks doing it, all in between, blues. So who would I recommend? I would recommend, yes, all of them. Go check them out because you're hearing new talent. You're hearing talent that's not been discovered but is amazing. And you have it all here at Peekskill and up and down the Hudson Valley. Just go out and listen to some great music, whatever type it is. And have an adventure.
That sounds like a definite plan, and it looks like maybe your next career might be representing some of these artists.
Yeah, that's right.
Will that work for you? I mean, you seem to have an eye for talent, so...
Maybe.
Well, thank you so much for coming to the show.
Thank you for having me. It was great speaking with you.
Absolutely. Loved hearing your story and getting to know you a little bit better, and looking forward to seeing you at the festival and around town.
Right on.
So, to the Living Arts audience, I hope you enjoyed this. Definitely look this man up and listen to his music and, go and see him if you can. Enjoy the rest of your summer, and you know how to find me. Peace.
There are people who will take you by the hand, and there are people that you'll never understand. Find the good ones, they'll help you find your place. Don't give up on this human race. Sometimes you feel all alone, like nobody gives a damn. Just remember to make your heart your home. You know you can, you know you can. There are people who will take you by the hand, and then there are people that you'll never understand. Find the good ones, they'll help you find your place. Don't give up on this human race. There are people who will take you by the hand, and then there are people that you'll never understand. Find a good one, they'll help you find your place. Don't give up on this human race.